Hi everybody, this is Plugspinner, and today we're going to be picking this Godrej 7-lever Nav-Tal padlock. I do have the key here. It is indeed 7 levers. A lot of times these Indian locks, they aren't honest about the lever counts, but after picking this so many times, I can indeed verify there's 7 levers in this one, which is always nice. As you saw, opens perfect. To close it, you want to close that shackle and reverse the key. It's a pretty smooth operation. In terms of tools, I made a tensioner and a picking wire using an old clothing hanger. So this is not special steel by any means. It's just about strong enough to pick these, but you do have to use some care so that you don't over tension or pick too hard and break off these tips inside of the lock, because that would be a mess to clean up. But anyway, if you do decide to make your own picks for the tensioner, this last cut right here is the tensioning lever. And you want to make sure that your tensioner goes from the bottom of the key's shaft here to the top of that cut. So this one's just about perfect. And then for your picking wire, you want to make sure it goes from the top of the key's shaft to just about the deepest cut. So this one's slightly longer, but in our case, it's not going to cause too much trouble, but you don't want to go too much higher than the highest cut, or else you might start getting stuck inside of the lock, especially once you open it and those levers kind of tense up. But anyway, the reason you want your picking wire to pick from the top of the shaft of the key is because this is a curtained lever lock. So you only have this little area to pick within. And as you might guess, if you're picking from down here, you're going to be stuck with how far back you can get this picking wire. So you want to pick from this far upper left corner and kind of sneak around it like that. So as you can see, when I made this, I kind of put a little curve to it and it's offset slightly, and that was on purpose so it could kind of fit around this curtain. So anyway, enough talking. I'm gonna go ahead and get this lock in a vise and show you how to pick it. Okay, so now we have it all mounted up. I have it mounted here by the left side just because the lock is too wide to fit in the jaws of my vise facing forward. But for our purposes, this will be fine. The tensioner will still have enough room to operate, as well as the picking wire. Again, as you can see, it operates fine in the clamp. So the tensioning wire, you'll put in all the way to the back of the lock. And you'll know you're in position because you won't feel any spring tension, as the tensioning lever doesn't have any spring tension at all. But when you're using the picking wire and you're feeling those levers, you will feel spring tension on those. But anyway, what we're gonna do is, so you just kind of snake in your picking wire at the top of this curtain here. And usually if it's an appropriate length, it'll just go in that way. Alternatively, you could just put it in with your tensioner like this in the beginning. That also works. Whatever works for you. And we're gonna be basically feeling from the front lever all the way to the back, looking for binding levers, much like a pin tumbler. But in my opinion, it's a lot less precise than picking a pin tumbler. A lot more things kind of fall down and lose their positioning as you're picking. So it's a little more finicky, but as long as you're patient and keep at it, I'm sure you'll get yours. A little tip that I have for you while you're picking is, as you pick up on each lever, so as you're turning the picking wire, if you kind of push in towards the lock a little bit, you'll feel the edge of that next lever. And by doing that, you can kind of help yourself navigate through those levers rather than just blindly picking whatever lever you come into contact with. When in doubt, I usually just go back to the front of the lock and start again. But yeah, enough talking. So now we will get to picking and hopefully we'll get an open. All right, here we go. We're gonna apply fairly heavy tension and start at the front and work our way back. Again, just feeling for binding levers. There are no false gates in this lock, so this will be the strategy the whole time. You do kind of have to push this picking wire up to the upper left corner of the curtain to get underneath those levers, which is a little uncomfortable for this finger here, but it comes with using homemade tools that aren't necessarily perfectly designed. If you need to take breaks, you can take your hand off that picking wire. Just make sure you stay on that tensioner, or else those levers will pretty easily fall back down. There we go. Just like that, we're open. I recommend taking out your picking wire before you rotate all the way, just because sometimes it can get stuck underneath those levers once it's picked. So we're just gonna take this out of here, and then we'll rotate it the rest of the way, and bam. Just like that, we're open. So not too difficult, I guess, in practice. I will say it took me forever to figure out how to open this though. So the initial learning curve was pretty steep, but once you start to understand how these locks function and how to kind of navigate around those levers, it's not too bad, and it's actually a lot of fun. Again, there's definitely some drawbacks to these homemade tools. It's pretty uncomfortable to pick. This finger goes through it. It'll probably be a while before I pick this again. But it does get the job done in a pinch. If anyone knows more about lever locks than me, which is probably many of you, and you know of any kits that are made specifically for this type of lever lock, I would be very happy to know it if you could drop it in the comments below. I've been trying to find a dedicated lever picking kit, but everything I've seen so far, like the multi-pick one and some of the other ones online, they don't seem to be made for this type of lever lock specifically. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, correct me. But I in particular love this type of lock, and if anyone knows any better tools for picking these, please let me know. But anyway, that was picking the Godrej 7-lever Nav-Tal padlock. I hope you did enjoy and find it informative. And thank you for watching. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, and have a great day.